Hey everyone, and welcome to a very special two-part episode of the Console Explosion podcast. I'm your host, the Philosopher, and today, me and Antonio of Gokado Retro Reviews had a pretty good debate about Street Fighter V. We debated about whether the selling points of Street Fighter V are okay, are they ethical, are they not, who is the game focused towards, and who is it not focused towards. I was the person defending Street Fighter, and Antonio was the one opposed towards Street Fighter. Very good debate. I feel like we both learned something at the very end of it, but it was still kind of unsettled, so let me know what you guys thought, who won, who didn't win, whether we're full of shit, or whether we both had some pretty good points. So let us know what you guys thought. But before that, we talked about some other topics that were burning in our minds. We got into a lengthy conversation about the retro VGS, or as it's known now as the Coleco Chameleon. We get into the rating system of movies and video games, who it helps, who it doesn't help, why it's even there in the first place. And the last topic, we actually talked about the evolution of video games. Where is it going? Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? We don't know. What is the fate of video games in our future? So all that and more. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the Console Explosion podcast. I hope you guys enjoy it. And as always, thanks for watching.
Our usual host here, Philosopher, has some issues with his internet, but he still decided to join us with his cell phone. So we're going to give him a round of applause for making the effort. Yay!
Tell this blizzard to go to hell.
Yeah.
Snow or whatever.
There you go. All right, everybody. My name is Kaztech, otherwise known as Jared. I am the CEO and founder of the Console Explosion, and I welcome you to probably one of our biggest podcasts in the sense that there's going to be some anger. And when I mean anger, there's going to be some straight-out bullshit coming out from both people's mouths when we get to our main event. But like any good fight or any UFC fight, we do have an undercard, and our undercard is filled with the co-host of the Console Explosions podcast, The Weiler. Please say hello.
Hello.
And we're always joined by one of probably our mid-card people, the Historic Nerd.
How's it going?
And fighting out of Guadalajara, Mexico, in the red corner, we have...
This is Gokado from Gokado Retro Reviews, where I'm eating some tacos, as you can see.
And fighting from the white corner, because it's a blizzard going on, we have the Philosopher, who forgot his mic is muted.
Oh yeah. Sorry. It's loud outside. I don't want you guys to hear that craziness out there. It's crazy.
So let's start with the undercard. And the undercard, this will be a quick one. We're going to talk about Deadpool. You guys already had a podcast about Deadpool. You talked about the movie. A lot of people who did join us for that podcast did tweet to us saying that they had to jump out because you guys are giving away spoilers. So that's not going to happen here.
Aww.
So don't worry.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie, so fuck off. No spoilers.
Me either, yeah. So pretty much, there's a petition going on right now that they want Ryan Reynolds to play Deadpool on SNL. Do you think that's a good idea? And do you think someone like Lorne Michaels would allow a non-human, non-character,
Yeah,
I guess a
character
to host something like they've never done something like that before?
No, I think they have. They have like for Sesame Street, right? They had like the puppets host and whatnot. So I think they have done that in the past.
But puppets are a little different. I mean, the Muppets are that's them, right? Like this is Ryan Reynolds playing a rated R character.
But
You
here's
know,
the thing.
puppets are being manipulated, right? They're not actually real.
well, here's the thing though about
Right.
Lorne Michaels though, is literally there are people that he is banned from SNL for life because they didn't do little things like who's the actor from The Pianist? What's his name?
Oh, you're talking about the big nose guy, right?
Yeah,
Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody, yeah.
Adrian Brody. He's been banned for life from hosting SNL because for one segment he wore a wig, and Lorne Michaels told him to take it off, and he didn't. So that's Lorne Michaels for you in a nutshell. So I don't necessarily know if they could even like tolerate Deadpool in a show where the whole gimmick of the character is where he breaks the fourth wall. I think that would just irritate Lorne Michaels to no end.
Because every skit would be them breaking the fourth wall. Like, I don't see them, being able to do... Well, it depends, because would Marvel bring in their own writers for this, or allow SNL writers to do it?
Ooh.
I think they'd just probably allow SNL writers.
That Deadpool is so big right now. They will be stupid not to do it.
It would be, yeah, I agree. It would be really dumb. I can see it being done well. It's just a matter of all the legalities of SNL versus Marvel and all of that stuff. But I think it would work if they found some way to come to a agreement legally.
What do you, Weiler? What do you think?
Well, they definitely would need somebody on standby for the beep. I mean, if they want to do it justice, somebody has to be like right on that button. Beep, 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 beep. I think it's a good idea, and I think it would be an interesting. It would be really interesting to see, because I mean, besides puppets, when has there been a character as a guest rather than, I mean, like Steve Martin goes on there and he doesn't play, the guy from Jerk. He plays as himself and many other characters. Whereas if they mean Deadpool, that means that it wouldn't be Ryan Reynolds playing all the different sketches. It would be Deadpool playing all the different sketches. So I think that would be a really interesting idea. And I think, I think it would be probably one of the most watched SNLs in like years.
I agree.
Mm, yeah, I mean it could be done in so many different ways. But like if Deadpool the character did decide to actually go along with the skits where he was actually acting, how would they do it? Would he be like acting in character, for the skit, and then be like line, I forgot what I was gonna say, or would he break the fourth wall within breaking the fourth wall? Like, how would he go about doing that? It would be really cool to see Deadpool try to actually like remember all the lines of the skit and just go along with all these actors. I think it'd be a very, very fun interaction. More than likely, they'll probably have to do something online outside of SNL, like a non-SNL skit. But I would like to see an SNL-like skit with Deadpool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, and I think, I agree with you guys. I think it would work, but I just don't think the SNL writers have what it takes for Deadpool writing. I don't know. They do. They had it for the Star Wars, so I do know that some of those SNL writers are really big in the geek format, and they are nerds in the nerd culture. But Deadpool is a character out on his own, right? Like he's very specific writing.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like the Star Wars thing wasn't your true SNL format where it's on the fly, just them reading cue cards for the skits. That was a well produced, put together, basically like video. So it wasn't like it was a live performance. It was just them making it seem like it was live, but it was a very well cut together, like just outside, almost like The Office kind of thing. So, I mean, I could see them doing like a digital short like that for Deadpool, but as far as him actually hosting an entire episode and the episode not coming off boring and something along the lines of the Star Wars Christmas special, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree. It would be interesting, and it would be interesting to see who they put together. Would they use this as like a a special, as in a finale, the finale of the season finale, or whatever the case may be, or season premiere, or their 200th episode special. I mean, as Weiler said, Deadpool is hot right now. He is fucking smoking. He's boiling right now, and people, he's the biggest superhero going on right now. But do you guys agree with that?
I agree. I agree 100% with that.
Well, he has officially surpassed Star Wars and sales.
Wow.
Yeah, and the numbers just don't lie. So I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. But I mean, that aside, it's just selling better than any other superhero movie that I know of. I believe, right?
Yeah, and it's
Am I wrong
being
there?
received better than any of them, which I think is the more important thing.
Just crazy. That's just crazy to me.
So Deadpool currently, as it sits, has broken $497 million for its the first opening week. So that's pretty good. It hasn't surpassed, right? That's worldwide, not domestic. So it hasn't surpassed Star Wars yet. But I mean, for an R-rated movie, that's the biggest R-rated movie opening ever. So
Wow.
that's that going for it.
Is that including like the weird scale? I'm not a numbers guy, so I'm not sure about inflation versus years ago and whatnot.
Oh no,
Star Wars
like,
just came
take,
out
like Star
a week
Wars.
ago.
Star Wars was the quickest movie to $1 billion ever. So Deadpool's only done box office 497 million, so it hasn't surpassed $1 billion yet. But there's maybe potential for that. But then again, it also has the badge of being the highest-grossing R-rated film, which is kind of a big deal
Yeah.
because it proves R-rated
Yeah.
films can draw an audience that want to see an R-rated movie, and it breaks that old stigma that Hollywood had, where PG-13 films are just the way they make superhero movies because they want to draw everybody in and not exclude any potential buyers or markets.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, I want to kind of throw in a curveball here. There was a movie theater who, down in the States, a chain of movie theaters, who decided to say, fuck you to the MPAA, which is the people that put the movies as PG-13 or PG or rated R, and they're allowing kids to go into rated R movies, and because they say they don't give a shit. Do you guys agree with that type of tactic for a movie theater?
Here's
That
the thing:
really
the MPGA, it's a self-regulating body. It's not actually a federally. It doesn't have actual federal authority. It's just a rating system that was dictated by a group of individuals who have literally no legal authority. It's
like the ESRB, right?
So it's a rating system that is encouraged by the government because it puts these stipulations on things. But as far as their actual enforcement authority, not really. But I mean, the movie theaters can probably get fined because what you end up having is you end up with like local statutes and ordinances which impact how these films are viewed. Because of that, like you have actual laws written that kids under the age of 18 can't view a film. And that's a local law. It's not necessarily enforced by the Motion Picture Association. For example, here in Idaho, we have a legal battle going on between the Idaho State Police and a movie theater chain called the Village Cinema. And the reason behind this is because the Village Cinema got hit with a citation for serving alcohol during the film 50 Shades of Grey. And for whatever reason, there's a law in Idaho statute that says you cannot serve alcohol during a sexually explicit film. So as a result, that cinema chain is suing our local or our state police department. So I mean, so you have laws associated with that are enforced externally, but as far as the Motion Picture Association doing anything,
And that's interesting because, why does a movie theater follow this? Why do retailers like GameStop follow the ESRB then? Why are they even there then if there's no regulation to it?
Well, I think it's more a question of ethics. I mean, it is kind of messed up that, they can decide state to state whether or not they're going to listen to it. But, I mean, yeah, it kind of begs the question, like you said, what's the point of a rating system if nobody's going to pay attention to it? Like, I know at least here in Idaho, I worked at the Regal Cinemas back in 2006, and the rule was if you were under 17, you had to have somebody over 21 with you. So it's not like you could have your, like a 15-year-old and he gets his 17-year-old brother to go with him. You actually had a 21-year-old so that it's a adult figure. And, that's obviously Regal. That's a franchise, obviously, versus some mom and pop grop shop just deciding, F it, I'm going to do what I want, and there has to be, it seems like there should have to be some kind of federal, consequences to this kind of stuff, because then, it just kind of renders everything mute, and especially something like Deadpool where it's really vulgar and everything. I mean, it's not a kid's movie. I mean, just the sex scenes alone were like pretty hilariously graphic.
Yeah, but one thing though, I mean, I think it's a complex issue. I mean, topic. I don't think it's a simple, cut and dry yes or no. But at the end of the day, the parents need to choose that for the children. At the end of the day, if they don't see it in the movies, they're gonna see it at home, right? If the parents don't care. So, would the movie theaters not letting the kids in make a difference versus whatever else they can find it? I don't know. I think the parents should be more involved than anything else.
Well, see, but that's not even really the thing. If somebody isn't regulating it, then the parents could have absolutely no say in it. The kids could be with their friend and they could tell their parents that, oh, I'm over at, Billy's house, but what he's actually doing is going and seeing a rated R movie.
That's why I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. That if they want to see it, they will see it.
Right.
So it's more. What I'm saying is that the parents need to be more involved in one way or another, either explaining to them what they're seeing, whatever it is, versus it's like the ESRB for games, right? You have all these children playing Call of Duty. It's supposed to be an M-rated game. It's the same thing, right? It's just a matter of getting the parents more involved. I don't think you can enforce this because it will make no sense. It's just like the fucking war on drugs, man. It doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, people who want to do drugs, they will do drugs. And the only thing you're doing is making the black market, which in this case would be how if children want to see that movie, how they see it under the rug with how they probably can pirate the movie at home, right? No one will notice. It's just I don't think it makes any sense to enforce that. You can have your ratings, right? You can have ratings so that at least you understand that it's a restricted movie. But that going all the way, say, hey, I'm not gonna let you in. I mean, if they want to do it, they can do it, but that's not gonna stop anything from children watching any movie.
Well, here's the thing. Like, here's how the MPAA enforces things. Like the rating system that they develop is based off of a committee of people who basically just decide what makes it an R-rated film or what makes it an NC-17 film. So it's really the entire interpretation of what make it, like, with the exception of like language and graphic nudity. That whole concept is actually up to the interpretation of individuals who assign these ratings. So it's not, and it's a self-regulating body, so it's completely in control. But what can happen is how it's internally policing is that since the MPAA controls distribution rights to a lot of theaters, or can definitely strongly influence, that theater chain, because they're refusing to enforce the MPAA, can lose distribution rights of these films, which means they won't get movies to show. So that can really bone them on the amount of stuff they can show or movie tickets they can sell. So that's how they would that's how they would internally enforce it. But as far as like, I mean, like, I watched R-rated movies when I was a kid, but then again, some kids aren't necessarily like emotionally ready to watch those kind of films. I mean, it's I think it's entirely up to the parents' discretion. But as far as enforcing it, I don't see a problem with theaters being like, no, you're too young. Because I mean, if a parent wants their kid to see it, they'll just take them to it. I mean, it's not a huge deal.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, if they want to enforce it. What I'm saying is, it's not going to change anything. If children want to see the movie, they will. I mean, one way or another, they will find a way to do it. But it's okay if they want to enforce it. Again, is that going to change? Are children not going to watch the movie? Come on.
So So with Deadpool being as successful as it is, they just announced that there will be an alternate version of Superman versus Batman that will be rated R.
Seriously?
Well, director's cut is going to be released. Yeah.
Oh, okay. DVD, that's okay. I thought you meant like theatrical.
It actually might be theatrical. Let me just finish.
Well, yeah, they might. I mean, a lot of this, like, I think was it James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, said that it's really why Deadpool did so well was because it was different and it tried something new, and it proved that there is definitely a draw for R-rated films. But just because at this point, studio executives might be having the wrong idea and thinking just because the film is R, it's going to do well. So they really need to like sit back and understand why Deadpool did as well as it did. That was because a low budget, a really strong marketing concept, and a character people like. So they need to really slow down and think about what they're going to do before they just start pushing out R-rated films.
But what was the budget?
Oh, for Deadpool?
Yeah.
I want to say like about 50 million, not a whole lot.
Yeah, it was around 50 million.
50 million.
Only 50 million.
Is an average amount.
Well, for a
58.
Compared to the other Marvel movies, though, it wasn't a lot.
That's nothing. I mean, Star Wars, that movie had a $150 million budget.
That's
So, I
because
mean, like-
that's because 100 million went to cast.
No,
Well,
100.
Let's compare it to the other Marvel movies. Let's see if we can compare it to other Marvel movies here.
If you want to just talk about your experience with GameStop and whatnot, I'll find those figures. So go.
Yep. So there were a few different things. One of the big things is that, you've already expressed, Antonio, is that they're going to get the game whether you stop them or not. They're going to find a way. I've seen people hire hobos, and I've seen all kinds of things. It's ridiculous. They want that game, they will get it. And, I've seen parents who just don't give a damn. Like, I'll tell them straight up, this game is rated mature for violence, sexual themes, hardcore violence, porn. And they're like, okay, all right, yep, I want to buy it. Take it. All right. The only thing that sometimes certain parents stop on is the sexual themes. That is the only time that parents raise their red flag and say, no, I'm not getting this game for my baby. That's the only time I've ever seen people really get upset on the majority of parents. So you have these people who, they're just throwing money at their kids to shut them up. A lot of kids will say, go ahead and go with your older brother or go with your older friend that can get you into this movie. They don't care. They just want their kid to shut up. And it's sad, but that's the case. And to kind of go back to, the policing of the ratings, I think it's more of a scapegoat for, so that the movie theaters or the gaming people don't have, the retailers don't get all the flack. So I've had a lot of parents come back and yell at us because this game is so violent, as if I was the one to make it. And it's like, I sold the game to your kid, you said yes. Why, you should know more about the content. This is, I don't say this, but it's on them. But because, there's these rules in place, we can't get in trouble. An adult was there to buy the game, we follow the rules, so there's nothing that they can do to blame us. So it really saves the retailer from taking any, flack. It's not, I feel like it's not so much, morality or anything like that. It's so that business can continue to go on and that they can't get sued or blamed for selling their kids something that one person might find morally corrupt and another person might find morally okay. I feel it's to kind of just level the playing field, and certain you can't get in trouble as a retailer.
Oh, I got a perfect story that kind of coincides with this. Years ago, when I worked in these creatures called video stores, they don't really exist anymore. One of my favorite things to ever have happen is that during that time, the most expensive porno ever made came to market, and that was called Pirates of the Burning Seas. No, it was just called Pirates, I think. And my favorite thing about that was this porno came out right alongside Pirates of the Caribbean. And the best part about it was because it was such a high production film, they did a recut of it so it was just an R-rated film. And so that means we had, when I worked at Hollywood Video, we had 130 copies of this R-rated movie on our shelves. and parents thinking this, because like it's literally the cheesiest looking pirate movie you've ever seen. So parents thinking it was like this, like, oh, that's probably a really funny, cute, like Treasure Island kind of movie, rented it and let their kids watch it without realizing it was basically a cut down hardcore porno. And that was the most hysterical time of my life working at a video store, trying to explain to parents. I'm like, you realize, you read the back of the box. They're like, well, no. And I'm like, you realize it says, like, in the quest for booty and booty on the high seas. And so it was just so good. And oh, man, I loved it. But that was one of those things where I'm like, it had an R rating on the box, and you can't really, and it's parents just not paying attention to things. So it was just one of my favorite things that ever have happened. That, and also like Memoirs of a Geisha, which is a very artsy film, which also had an R rating because of some of the sexually explicit content in it. I had parents pissed off about that. I'm like, do you know what a geisha is, right?
Right.
But so it's just stuff like that. So I mean, like, you have willfully ignorant people that just go to these films because it's a superhero film, not realizing an R-rated film. It's just it all kind of just snowballs upon itself. So it's just great.
Mm.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. Parents letting their children like skate without gear, for instance. Then they fall and they break something, right? And then they'll probably go and try to sue the skating board company, right? I mean, fucking get some fucking responsibility under you, fuck.
Yeah. But yeah, that was just my favorite thing ever, talking to parents after they rented those movies. And I'm like, did you read the back of the movie? They're like, well, no. And I'm like, did you know it was the most expensive porno ever made? Just telling you. But yeah.
So, I got the list here. Ready? First of all, to talk about pirates and that porno, it was $1 million budget for that movie. They made the poster or the beginning, the box in the movie, look as much like Pirates of the Caribbean as possible. Then the sequel of that movie, of Pirates 2, was a bigger budget of $8 million. So, yeah.
Yeah, but that's still the most expensive porno ever made.
Actually, not anymore. If you look at the porno, that company right now has been making high-budget pornos because they notice, wow, if we actually put a little money and a little effort into these, we can actually make a good return on them, and they have been. So, think about that.
I like it to have a good story, you know?
It needs CG skeletons.
You need to have the porno actors fighting a skeleton. Just have it happen.
Yeah.
I want Blu-ray porn, 3D Blu-ray porn, where I can see every pore of the female.
Oh my god.
Wait.
You realize that you're not gonna only be seeing every port of the female, correct?
I'm not worried
Especially
about that.
if you want a 3D.
Why are you thinking
3D,
about the...
3D. 3D.
There's a funny story with that. Somewhere down in the States, always the lower 58, there was a woman who got pregnant, and her husband was away in Afghanistan or whatever, came back home. She said she got pregnant from watching a 3D porno. And she's suing the porno company because she got pregnant from watching a 3D porno.
Yes.
We're done with this conversation. We are done.
So, going back to the budget movies, Deadpool had a $58 million budget. These are the movies that fall into the same category of that budget. Ready? Howard the Duck, Blade 2, The Punisher from 2004, Kick-Ass,
Kick-Ass. It kicks ass.
Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, Kick-Ass 2, and that's it.
Yeah, so pretty relatively small films in comparison.
Yeah, and a lot of them actually superhero ones, as you've seen there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So wait, Howard the Duck had a budget of $58 million?
I didn't even know there was a Howard the Duck.
They had a $30 million budget, and they made $16 million back.
Oh yeah, Howard the Duck was a beautiful train wreck where a woman has sex with a duck. It's... yeah.
Yeah,
right up there with Pirates.
Movie.
All right. So, anyways, we're gonna go just a quick little yay or nay. Do you guys think that the idea, because this DICE conference had a lot of things happen, it brought in Hideo Kojima and Del Toro together, indicating that they want to work together. And Norman Reedus tweeting that he'd work with them as well. So that happened. Another thing that happened was a high-scale movie director wants to make a movie involving Link and Super Mario Brothers. He wants to bring it to the big screen because he did the Lego movie, and he thought the Lego movie, if you do something like that with these characters, it would be successful. Do you agree?
Well, first get Bob Hoskins on speed dial.
Isn't he dead?
Is he?
It depends on who you have to write it and produce it.
He's saying that he'd bring in the same team behind the Lego movie.
I've never seen the Lego movie, so I don't know.
I could see that for the Mario movie. I could see that for the Mario film, but I mean, as far as Legend of Zelda, though, I mean, you could do a really good, like, high fantasy film for Legend of Zelda, and it would be fine. I mean, it would be really good. I mean, you could do, like, Lord of the Rings level kind of stuff, but I mean, I think depending on how the World of Warcraft film does, I think that'll dictate what they would do with the Legend of Zelda IP.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's a good point.
Here's the thing. I mean, why do many of these video game movies don't work? I think a lot has to do with that they take themselves too seriously when they make these movies. So I think the Lego guys can make a good job with that. I mean, they made a freaking movie out of a freaking blocks that you put together. That's it. That's the whole thing. And they made a very good movie out of that.
Well, because but I mean, that movie, though, that's a really good example of people taking what they have and experimenting with the space and making a good, fun story out of it.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, like, but Mario, it doesn't, I mean, if you look at, like, the 1986 Mario and Mario 3, what they made the Mario Brothers movie out of, there was nothing to make a movie out of. There really wasn't. And they're like, well, how can we make this more Hollywood? And then they just totally went off the deep end. So at that point in time, they just totally went off the deep end and just did what the hell they wanted with that. But even then, I mean, like with Link, Legend of Zelda, I think I already said it, but I mean, like a really cool fantasy kind of film, and you have different elements from all the games you could play with. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure that a Legend of Zelda movie will work at this point in time. The Mario Brothers one, I think it makes more sense, a more fun movie. Like the Lego one.
Yeah, I can see that one.
I keep saying, I mean, there's really not much to go by there, but out of Legos, fuck, it's probably the less common denominator of everything, right? Freaking, here you go, Lego, make a movie out of that. I mean, how do you do that? They made it, and it's fucking funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it might work.
The moviegoer 14 in our YouTube chat brought up a good point. What about a Super Smash Brothers type film?
See, I think that could work, because then it would be like the Lego movie where they bring in several characters. Like the Lego movie, you got Batman, Gandalf, and Batman. There was two of them.
So imagine this. Imagine the movie as like some sort of contest, right? Where Mario or whatever you want to be your main character has to go through these fights to get to the whatever main fight will be.
So are you, hang on. Are you saying it's like, okay, so we follow one character, he gets a letter in the mail about some sort of street fighting tournament that he needs to win, so he travels around the world beating other masters of their domain to become the best.
Yes.
And then goes and charges people $49.99 for DLC.
Yes. Then he charged full price for a half-made game. Yes.
Mid-movie.
I mean, like, you could go the Wreck-It Ralph approach and just make it, like, fully in a video game universe, which, I mean, they did a pretty good job. I mean, that's probably one of the better video game films. But,
yeah, actually, it's probably the best right now video game movie ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, for me, like, I enjoy
Wreck-It Ralph, it's
Go on.
Well, I was gonna say Wreck-It Ralph. It's not really a video game movie because Wreck-It Ralph didn't never exist really before the movie, right?
No, there was a fixed feeler. Fuck, I can't talk. Sorry, fixed feeler. Fixed feeler.
Not pouring on the brain again.
Fixed feeler. That's the porn version of it.
Yeah. But I thought there was actually a Fix It Felix game in existence. I thought.
I thought they made it for the movie.
I could be wrong. I could be because I mean like the way they made it was really vintage. So.
Yeah, they made it retro style to coincide with the movie, but it never really existed. In any case, I mean, it has the video game characters in it, and like the culture, and a fun take on an arcade, how we would, Toy Story-ish, right, where the arcades they bring to life, and that's kind of fun. Again, it's all about going around the main idea of the actual video game when it starts. Right, the story of the video game, if you just go ahead and take that and make it into a movie, it's not going to work. We've seen it time and time again. That's not going to work. So you have to make something fun around that. Just have the main idea of the video game.
See, I thought, like, as far as like video game movies that worked, I thought like Tomb Raider was actually kind of a decent video game movie. Because I thought it worked well as an action film. At least it applied itself well with a strong female character, so that was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Films that were examples. Yeah, I think films that could have been good video game movies, like the two Hitman movies, for example. Those were just gigantic pieces of trash, and there was a lot of potential there, but I think there was a lot of it squandered on people not like they're like, oh, it's a video game, we can do whatever we want, as opposed to just actually trying to be somewhat faithful to the source material and doing something right. So I mean, like there are games that have like the Assassin's Creed film. I think will be when it comes out. What, the end of this year? Is that when it's coming out?
Yeah,
supposedly.
Yeah. So when that comes out, I think that'll be a gigantic benchmark for how video game films are treated. If it is as good as I think it might be, because Ubisoft has put so much creative, or they've retained so much creative control of it. I think that'll dictate how games control their IP, or how game companies control their IPs in the future with films. And I think that can only equate to better video game movies, as opposed to letting studios have free reign and ultimately just shitting all over it.
Let's not forget the Ratchet and Clank movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they're making that. I forgot about that.
Well, you have Ratchet and Clank and
Insomniac
the Sly Cooper as well, right?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know about Sly Cooper.
Sly Cooper? They're doing that one as well.
There's that movie too, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the benchmark for video game movies is going to be the biggest this year. You got those two animated movies. You have the Assassin's Creed movie.
Warcraft.
You have World of Warcraft. Warcraft. You have Mario being in the new Wreck-It Ralph 2 movie. So that's going to be interesting.
Netflix in their Zelda movie or show, whatever.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we'll see. I have faith in Netflix. Netflix hasn't made too many bad things. You can argue about the Jessica Jones thing. A lot of people didn't really care for that. But overall, Netflix has made really great quality films. But to kind of go back to what you guys were saying, is like I feel like the legitimacy of fighting or video games in general are really like finally being taken serious. Like people are starting to understand that it's not just a fad that they can make money off of, and not a cash grab, but just a legitimate art that people are really into and it is part of their life now. So they're making better quality movies, hopefully.
Yeah, they'll stop giving movies to fucking Boll, who made fucking House of the Dead, fucking Far Cry, In the Name of the King, which is a Baldur's Gate tale.
Well, no, it's actually In the Name of the King. So it was actually a dungeon.
It was
Dungeon Siege tale. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Dungeon Siege, right.
I love the crap out of that piece of shit. Sorry, gotta put that there.
Actually, no. Actually, you know what? I have to admit, In the Name of the King, the first one, I thought it was good. The two sequels were garbage.
Oh, they're absolute trash. But like the first one was fun. I mean, there's definitely some choices they could have made that would have made that film better. It was a fun, slocky piece of trash. I mean, it was just I wanted to go see it because I knew it was Boll, and I knew he'd fuck it up. So, and like casting Burt Reynolds as a medieval king is like the greatest casting dirt choice anyone could ever make in a film.
Do you guys believe that it's being taken more serious right now? As a big part because of the gamers, most of us, the average age is probably between 30 to 35, where all of us have have grown up, have jobs, and have disposable income, and probably are making a difference right now. But eventually, when we get older, do you think that might fade away?
I don't think so. I
No?
think it's here to stay. It's become so much a part of pop culture. It's come full circle because a lot of video games stole stuff from their favorite movies. Well, now movies are stealing their favorite stuff from video games.
And this is the way I see it. Growing up, video games were an expression of how I felt. And now it is so accessible to make a game. Not only is it just an expression of how you feel, you can express how you feel through making a video game. Gaming is becoming more and more impactful and emotional and becoming a part of everyday life. It's a household name. It's a household product. It's going to keep on evolving and being a part of our lives in media, and maybe more, just like how movies and music are. Music is an art form, traditional art is an art form because it expresses how people feel, and that is not an addiction, but it is a very liberating feeling. And to be able to make a game, to be able to have an interaction with other people and have that feedback, there's just way too much going on for it to ever fade away. It's become way too big, and I'm 100% confident it's only going to get more and more better. That's not proper English, but whatever. As time goes on, with VR tech and so.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I think we lost him again.
Oh, and look at his face.
But I'll try and finish this thought. But with VR technology progressing the way it is, I think you'll definitely have a more immersive and definitely a more immersive.
Immersive,
yeah. Immersive environment for which these stories can be told, which I think will definitely facilitate the stories and the way they go forward. And the nice thing is, I think the Supreme Court finally dictated that video games are an art form and should be protected as such, just like how films are. So that's kind of the nice thing that's going on there.
Another thing to pay attention to is that, even just 3 years ago, if somebody said, hey, they're going to put video games on ESPN, you probably would have been like, shut the fuck up.
Right. I was going to bring that up earlier. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. It's not only in an entertainment or in a art form, it's become a legitimate competitive form as well.
Yeah, a way of life, actually.
Yeah, a way of currency, a way of money. You have all these people that, it's kind of their lifeblood in different ways. People make a lot of money from gaming, and not just making them, but being around them.
Here's what I'm saying, though, right? At this point in time, the way it is right now, it's because of us, because of the things we've grown with. And we are dictating at this point, our group age is dictating what we are seeing right now. But what I'm saying is, in the future, if you look at the trend right now, the trend is that to have freaking phone games, right? That's iPads. That's what kids, really small children are not playing consoles. They have their phones and they want to play the phone, and that's it. They don't even their parents are the ones who have the PlayStation and playing there. They are not. So do you guys believe that might affect the way the landscape in the future just because of that? Because they're gonna grow with a different experience on gaming than what we had when we were children.
Are you saying, do you think the experience is going to change?
I think so. That's what I'm saying.
Is that what you're asking?
Do you guys believe that?
Oh, well, definitely. No, I mean, gaming already has changed since, the beginning of Nintendo. It's going to keep on changing and evolving. Definitely.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, will that degrade? That's what I'm more saying here. Do you believe that will degrade the experience in the future versus really making it better? Because at the end of the day, the market dictates what what you end up watching at the end of the day. If it doesn't sell, they will not make it, right? If it sells, they will make it. What I'm saying is that right now, you have your children playing with your finger, and that's it, right? They don't have they have no physical contact right now, and I'm worried about the future of that, right?
Well, I mean, there are enough mobile games out there that are, taking the extra time to make them more innovative rather than just a tap fest. And so, like Philosopher said, it's just going to evolve, and we're going to have more powerful tablets and more powerful phones, and I mean, I hate to keep bringing it back to VR, but then you bring it around to VR and being able to implement these phones and tap games and all that stuff with the VR, and the more powerful they get, I mean, you're going to have a phone that's going to be able to play a PlayStation 4 game or even a PC type of game.
But does horsepower make the game?